This week, America has begun the process of withdrawing from the Paris Agreement and notifying the UN of its intentions to leave as other countries express regret and disappointment at the move, only because they're too stupid or haven't bothered to read the document. I'm sorry, but it's correct. Well, I'll go through why shortly. The notification begins a one-year process of exiting the Global Climate Change Accord, culminating the day after the 2020 US election. Now, the US government says the deal puts an unfair economic burden on Americans, and the agreement brought together 188 nations to combat climate change. Yeah, right. And there has been widespread international condemnation of the US move. Now, the Paris Accord, agreed to in 2015, committed the US and 187 other countries to keep rising global temperatures below 2 centigrade above pre-industrial levels and attempting to limit them even more to a 1.5 centigrade rise. Now, the decision to withdraw taken by President Donald Trump after he came into office in 2017 made the US the world's sole non-signatory and prompted high-level efforts by the European Union to keep the agreement on track. Finally, confirmation that America is pulling out of what was once called a treaty when the UN was actually sovereign, because it had its sovereignty removed for several indiscretions, abuses, and not serving its purpose or obligations. The UN lost its sovereignty. So the treaty, only a sovereign can do a treaty. The treaty then went to an agreement and now an accord. But this accord has got nothing to do with climate change at all. Zero. And everything to do with the UN, along with their elite backers, stealing every country's in-ground resources, allegedly to pay for climate change, but in reality to allow those elites to keep control of the wealth and the planet. The UN is now a criminal and bankrupt organisation using hired mercenaries to threaten countries around the world who dare to help or improve their own countries. The IMF, the same as the UN. Criminal and bankrupt organisation. They owe the trust, the IMF, 196 trillion, and are also using mercenaries to threaten countries into taking on the IMF loans. Those two organisations and the World Bank have run a criminal operation to loot countries for decades, stolen your wealth, killed your people, and threatened many more. A message to the world leaders: please follow America's lead in stepping away from this accord. All your leaders who signed this agreement did so due to threats and receiving kickbacks to sign it. Every one of them. Largely at the behest of the criminal Barack Obama, former Pindar and leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, I know it's not normally conducive to follow American policy, as many of you have been duped by successive presidents of this country who are operating for and by these same elite harvesters. But do not allow your mistrust of this country to cloud your judgment on this issue. Please check out the report of proof for yourselves. It will rape your countries over and over again. Each country has a substantial fund awaiting you all once you step away from the old system. Those funds are not interest-bearing to yourself and does not require paying back either. Those funds were stolen from your country in an earlier period by the same group who operate the so-called bodies of humanity protection groups. They lied. They continue to lie, and it's up to you all to get together and remove those groups and their mercenaries out of your countries and away from making your policies.